Okay, thank you for coming. My name is Craig Anderson. I am one of the friendly and enthusiastic librarians here at the Nancy Thompson Learning Commons at Kean University. And this session is going to be on how to use EndNote to cite your sources. I'm just going to go from here to the main Learning Commons homepage. This and go to Learning Commons homepage. The Learning Commons homepage, incidentally, you can get there if you go to the Kean homepage and under quick links, we're the very first link right here. You can also get there if you just type in the URL up here. If you just type in learningcommons.kean.edu, you can get to the Learning Commons homepage that way as well. So this is your one-stop shop for all your library and information needs. I'm going to minimize the little chat box right here. We do have Learning Commons support chat, which is a way that you can chat with a librarian if you need to ask a question. Learning Commons support chat will connect you to a librarian or a library professional worker. The way that it works is that if one of us is available here to answer your questions, when you sign into the Learning Commons support chat, we will see your question on the other side. We'll be able to answer it and then enter into a like a real-time chat with the user. And if one of us is not available, the support chat line will go to another librarian somewhere in the US, Canada, or the UK. So if one of us is not available to answer your questions, your question might go to a librarian in, say, California or Alberta or Texas or something like that. It will be somebody who is trained as a librarian to answer your questions. So, but they might not be able to answer any Kean-specific questions. So it is really a 24/7 service. They do have people, librarians and other places staffing the Learning Commons support chat at all times. But I'm just going to minimize that for right now. So from the Learning Commons homepage, in order to get to EndNote, I'm going to take you to this tab up here, up the top left, where it says Research. If you click on Research, it will take you to this page, which will tell you all about the resources that we have to support your resources. Support your research rather. And we do have like research consultations, we have workshops, we have different support videos and research guides. So I'm going to go down here to where it says EndNote Online Citation Management. This will take us into the EndNote program. I just do want to let you know that there is also an EndNote Online user guide. So when we get through this workshop, if you still need help, if you have any questions, if there's something that you forgot from the workshop, you can go to the EndNote Online user guide. So just know that that's there. But for right now, it's so much easier if I just demonstrate EndNote to you. So I'm going to go to EndNote Online Citation Management. And this is going to take me to where I can sign in to continue with EndNote. Now, if you're not an EndNote member, and it remembered my username and password here, if you're not signed in to EndNote, signed up for EndNote, you would have to go here to where it says register. When you go to register, it will take you to this page where you can put in, a password, your first name, last name, and you have to do this CAPTCHA thing. And then it will send you an email, and then from the email, you can register your account. I believe that the first time you register for EndNote, you do have to be on campus, or at least to get to EndNote through this portal here. When you go to Learning Commons and under Research, go to EndNote Online Citation Management. Once you have your EndNote account, you can go right in. I'm going to sign into my EndNote account right now. And this is probably going to bring me to all my references page. Yes. The very first time you get into EndNote, it might bring you to this page where it has the Getting Started guide. And this, much like the user guide on the previous page, this will also tell you different things about how to use EndNote. So again, if you still feel like you still need help after this workshop, please feel free to use the Getting Started guide when you get into your EndNote account. I'm just going to hide the Getting Started guide for right now. So usually once you've been using EndNote for a while and it remembers you, it will, instead of the Getting Started guide, it will take you to this page called All My References. Sounds like a soap opera. So the All My References page will include all of the references that you've ever uploaded into EndNote. So right now I have 706 references here in EndNote. Now I promise I'm not, I haven't read all 706 of these articles or other resources. This will just kind of keep them here in your overall account. Now, it's unlikely that I will ever use all 706 of these references if I ever write a paper or an article, or if I do a dissertation on some particular subject. I'm never going to use all 706 of these references. So what I've done is organize these into groups. Right here on the side, it says My Groups. There's all my references. Oh, and I still have one of my unfiled folder that I should get rid of. Or should file it somewhere, rather. So under My Groups, I really wish that EndNote would call these folders, because they act so much more like email folders, if you're familiar with the concept of email folders. But for some reason, it calls them groups. So anytime I say groups, pretend I said folders, and it'll make so much more sense to you. So I have a lot of these really odd groups. Lately, what I've been doing is research in, I've been running a Dungeons and Dragons game here on campus during the semester. So I've been doing research into how Dungeons and Dragons can be used for scholarship. So I've created this whole Dungeons and Dragons group right here. There are, appropriately enough, there are 42 references in my Dungeons and Dragons group. And these are all of the articles that I've gotten from a number of different sources on Dungeons and Dragons, and also things like World of Warcraft is mentioned in here, and very similar things, role playing and gaming in education. So let's say that I've decided to finally write some kind of scholarly paper all about Dungeons and Dragons in education and how to use that in a scholarly capacity. So what I will do is I'll go to Format. You think of it as I'm going to format my bibliography. So I click on Format, and Bibliography is the first thing that comes up. So as for the references, I'm going to take all the references in my Dungeons and Dragons group here. Bibliographic style. Let's say I want to do it in APA style, APA 7th edition, or annotated. Now, you'll notice that when I pull down this list, it's only got like 8 or 10 different styles here. The first time you go to bibliographic style, it's going to have like 370 of them. But if you go to select favorites, this will give you a chance to just copy over your favorite styles. I never knew there were so many different bibliographic citation styles. A lot of these are the names of magazines. The African Journal of Ecology, for example, is this one. American Journal of Science is this one. A lot of these journals probably just use like either APA or MLA style, but they probably have their own little house rules that diverge from those established styles. So I've just copied over, like I said, my top 10 favorites. You have to be really nerdy to have 10 favorite bibliographic styles, but so I'm just going to put this in APA style for right now. As for file format, that doesn't really matter. It's, if you're just going to publish your bibliography as like a web page, then HTML is fine. If you're going to put it into like a Microsoft Word document or one of the Google Docs, you would probably want rich text file, or you'd want plain text file if you just want a plain text document for whatever reason. For right now, I'm just going to put this into HTML style. So I'm going to take all the references in my D&D group. I want them in APA 7th edition, and I want them in just an HTML style. So I'm going to click Preview and Print, and it is going to do this. So hopefully it's going to bring up this screen. I don't know if you can see that. So this is a whole, this is the whole bibliography. It took all of those references I had and put them all in APA style. So it's not a perfect system. Like this one, I would want to clean up this URL here. I don't know why this is so long. And then every once in a while, like this one, this example, for example, they have Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the library all in caps. It's not supposed to be all in caps. So you do have to kind of go through these and kind of fix it up a little bit, but it's still so much easier than the old school way of doing it when you would have to type these all out by hand. So let me minimize this and go back to all my references. So that's what EndNote does. It helps you to create the bibliographies from all of the references that you have here. Now you're probably wondering, okay, so now how do I get all of my references into EndNote? And I promise I'm going to show you, but first, I want to show you how to create these groups first, because the groups are going to be the basis of your bibliography. So in order to create these groups, what I'm doing is I'm coming up with ways to organize all of my references. So I'm going to go to the Organize tab right here. And this takes me to something that says Manage My Groups right up top here. So these are all my groups. You will have a little thing down here on the bottom that will say New Group. When you click on New Group, it will bring you up a little pop-up window. I don't know if you can see that. You should be able to see that. Yeah. It'll bring this little pop-up window and you can just give this group a name. Well, Dungeons and Dragons or any other game, any other title, whatever you want to name the group, that doesn't matter. And then once you give the group a name, it's going to put it here under your list of my groups. Now there's a couple things you can do. I can see I have 42 articles in my D&D group right here. I can manage sharing. So I can share this group with somebody. If I decide there's somebody else who is just a brilliant scholar in the field of Dungeons and Dragons and educational administration, I can bring that person in on my group and I can include them in all of these articles that I've accumulated. And then if that person wants to send some articles to me through my D&D group, they can also send me articles and they can share articles in that group. When you share a group with somebody, all you need to know is what email address they use as their login for EndNote. So I can rename this group if I don't want to name it Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, if I want to write that whole title out, Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe I feel it'll be more professional if I do it that way. And now I put it down here. I can also delete this group. Now, if I delete the group, all those 42 articles, those articles don't go away. I'm not going to delete the articles. I would just delete that grouping of them. So when I went back to all my references or my references up here, all those articles would just be kind of scattered through all 706 of these articles here. Okay, so as I said, now you're probably wondering how you actually get these articles into your EndNote. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to briefly go back to the Learning Commons homepage, and I'm going to go under Databases A to Z. This is a list of all the databases that we have here. There's 281 of them. I'm just going to go to the database that's called Academic Search Premier. You're probably a little bit familiar with Academic Search Premier, maybe. It's one of the EBSCO databases by the EBSCO company of databases. And this EBSCO database, just Academic Search Premier, is their multidisciplinary database. It covers a little bit of everything. So no matter what your topic is, there's a good chance you'll find something about it in Academic Search Premier. So I'm just going to start with that one for right now, because again, I'm just using it for demonstration purposes. And in here, I'm going to put Dungeons and Dragons and maybe education. So what I'm doing here is with the term Dungeons and Dragons, I want it to look for that 3-word term. I'm not interested in an article that has the word dungeons in one paragraph and dragons in another paragraph. I only want it when it's specifically talking about this particular game. So what I've done is I've put that in quotes. Anytime you use quotes to keep a 3-word or a 2-word phrase or a 20-word phrase, anytime you use quotes around a multi-word phrase, it'll keep that entire phrase together when it does the search. And then I just put the word and then I put education, but I cut it off at educat with the asterisk. So this is called truncation. The asterisk will act as a wildcard symbol. So I'm telling EBSCO, Academic Search Premier specifically, that I want any word that starts educat. So education, but also educating, educator, educated, like anything that like has educate at the front of it. So that's just a few tips and tricks you can use when you're doing your search. So I'm going to click on search now, and it's going to find all the articles. Oh, it's only found 9. Wow. Dungeon masters need to let their players in on the curriculum game. That's interesting. Role playing with educational intent. I think I have this one already. Dungeons and Dragons Storms Education. That sounds interesting. Zelaznik. Man, okay. Let me try this one. I'm interested in this article. One of the other things that I use EndNote for, as I said before, one of the benefits of EndNote is it helps you to create bibliographies, but I also kind of like to use EndNote as like a storehouse. Anytime I'm going through all of these articles and I'm doing my research and I'm getting lost with all these different articles here, if I find an article that I really like, I'm like, oh, well, I'll send that to EndNote, and that way I at least know where it is so that I can find it later. So I'm just going to click on this article here, Dungeons and Dragons Storms Education, because as I said before, I don't think I have this one. Zelaznik. Okay. And then along the side here where you can print and email this to yourself, there's something that says export, and it's got a little page with an arrow coming out of it. Anytime you see the word export, just imagine that says send this over to EndNote. So I'm going to click on export. And sometimes it will be some kind of wording like that. It'll say export to EndNote or export to Citation Manager, but look for the word export, and that's get this article into EndNote. So when I go to export, it's got an option here that says direct export to EndNote Web. This is the one I want. I want to directly export it into EndNote Web. This is one of the things that I do love about EBSCOhost. Is that it does have this option that I can just direct export into EndNote Web. There's another option here that I just want to tell you about quickly. There's this option to direct export in RIS format. So RIS format is what periodical citations usually happen in. It's if I direct export this into RIS format, what it's going to do is it's going to save a little file onto my into my downloads folder, basically, and that's going to be a file, and it's going to be something.ris. And then what I would do is upload the RIS into my EndNote account. So it's more of a 2-step process. It's a little bit more tedious. But the reason I'm mentioning is because some of the databases that we subscribe to are going to make you actually download the blah, blah, blah.ris file and then go back into your EndNote and upload it. But with the EBSCO databases, the EBSCO family of databases, we don't have to do that because they have this great option here, direct export to EndNote Web. So I'm just going to click save. And it's going to say number of records imported 1. So now, unfortunately, EndNote doesn't know what group I wanted to put this article in. I mean, obviously it's Dungeons and Dragons, Storms Education, so I want it in my Dungeons and Dragons group, but EndNote doesn't know that. So what it's done is it's put it into my unfiled group right here. So if you go here on the left, you'll notice that there's one group that says unfiled, and there's 2 of them in there because I had one in from before that I forgot to clean out. This one's also about science fiction role-playing games and fictional religion. Interesting. So I want both of these actually in my Dungeons and Dragons group. So I can just check both of these off, or I could have checked all up here. And then I'm going to add it to a group. So I'm going to add this to my Dungeons and Dragons group. And now there's nothing in my unfiled group, but now I have two more. Now I have 44. Oh no, I'm sorry, 44 in this in my Dungeons and Dragons group. So now here you would find that article probably all the way at the bottom by what was it, Zelaznik, sorry. So yeah, that's where that one went. So that's how you get your articles into EndNote. And I say articles, but I mean articles or books or whatever else. So let me show you one other database that we have. We also have a database called ProQuest. I like to say, if you think of the EBSCO databases as being like the Coca-Cola of databases, ProQuest is Pepsi. They're like the second biggest corporation of databases. So ProQuest is another good database, but I'm showing you this because this is one of them that doesn't have a direct export as far as I know. So I'm going to put in Dungeons and Dragons and EduCat. And we can use the same tricks to, you know, put Dungeons and Dragons in quotes and put EduCat with the asterisk. And I'm going to search here. The Marines go medieval. Semper Fidelis means, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to take that one too. So I'm going to go to this one. About the US Marines and Dungeons and Dragons. And up here where it says Cite, there's an option here where I can download this as an RIS file. Actually, they do have an EndNote option now, but I just want to go here so I can demonstrate this to you. So when I click on RIS, as I said before, oh, it's going to make me confirm that I want to download this as an RIS file. As I said before, it's going to download the RIS file into like my tray here for downloads. I don't know if you can see that. It's it kind of put it down here on the bottom under ProQuest document. So then what I would do is go into my EndNote account, and now I want to go to collect. So I'm going to collect a reference. I just exported this, it exported the RIS file into my downloads folder. So now what I want to do is to import it into EndNote. So I go to import references, and in the case of ProQuest, it's going to call it, where's my downloads? Oh, these are all my Dungeons and Dragons articles. In the case of ProQuest, it will always call it ProQuest document and then the date. Today is May 25th of 2023. So it's ProQuest document 2023-05-25.ris. So I'm going to open that right here. Now for the import option, we have an import option for most of the different databases that we would collect here. So for most of these different databases, we have an import option. There is one for ProQuest, but I just want to let you know, okay, let me try ProQuest. I want to let you know that there is one option here, a little further down, called RefMan RIS, RefMan RIS. I know that RefMan stands for Reference Manager, is short for Reference Manager, but I like to think of it as a little guy in a referee outfit that's going to help me get my my files into EndNote. And that's how I remember it. It's just I look for the RefMan. The reason I'm mentioning RefMan RIS is because every once in a while, EndNote will get a little fidgety and it won't download the or it won't upload the document from your downloads folder. So if all else fails, try using RefMan RIS. But in this case, I think I am going to try using ProQuest. And in this case, since I'm uploading it from my downloads folder, now I can tell it where I want it to go, and I want it to go into my Dungeons and Dragons group. So I chose the file. I found the ProQuest document. I want to import as a ProQuest document, and then it's going to go into my Dungeons and Dragons folder. Okay, so I'm going to click that, File name can't be blank. Oh no, it's sorry. Okay. That's my fault. I clicked on that and it wanted me to choose it again. So now hopefully now it says one reference was imported into my Dungeons and Dragons group. So if I go to my Dungeons and Dragons group, there should be an article here about the US Marines and Dungeons and Dragons. I forget what the who the author was, Paula Span. So if I went down to Span, it probably there she is. Marines Go Medieval. So now that article is there as well. Okay, so that's how you get articles into EndNote. Now, let's say, for example, you didn't get an article from EBSCO or ProQuest or any of those things. You just have a book on your shelf, or you subscribe to a particular magazine or newspaper, and you want to use one of those articles with your EndNote options. So in that case, what you would do is you would go to collect, again, same as we did before, except instead of import, you would go to new reference. And what new reference is going to do is it's going to give you all of these options to input the name of the author and the title and the year and the publisher, etc. This gives you a lot of fields to play with. Obviously, you don't have to fill in all of these fields. No one expects you to fill in all of these fields. But you know that if you're going to cite something in APA, you're going to need an author name, Anderson, this is me, Craig, and under title, I'm going to put amazing article about D&D that I will write someday. Year is probably going to be in 2045. Anyway, so yeah, and as you fill in all of these different fields, over here under unfiled, it's going to create this reference for you. And see, there I am, amazing article about D&D. So I could click this and add this to my D&D group. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm going to delete this because this is just an example. But yeah, so that's under new references, how you would create your own references. It is a little tedious, but once you create the reference, then it's always in your whichever group you put it in. It's always in your EndNote account. And you'll notice that here under reference type, it says generic. It allows for a generic reference type, but you can change that depending on what medium you're getting the resource from. So if I were citing a blog entry, I could do this as a blog entry, and now it changes to author, title of weblog, place published, etc. If I want to cite a film or a broadcast, like a TV episode or something, I can click film or broadcast, and then this changes to director, year release, distributor, running time, all the things that I would need if I were citing a film in like most citation styles. One other thing I should mention is that all the way on the bottom here, there's an option for research notes. Under the research notes field, this is where, if you were creating an annotated bibliography, this is where you would put your notes for that entry. And then if we create an annotated bibliography, it will show anything we put under research notes will show up under as an annotation. So by that stretch, all of these fields that are here, you'll also see them when you go to all my references. So all of these articles that I got from different sources, like if I go to my Dungeons and Dragons article here, I can go to any one of these and click on them, and it will give me basically that same screen with all of the different fields. So now I could go down to research notes and put my notes on this article by Sarah Allison, Development of the Self in the Era of Internet and Role-Playing Fantasy Games. I can also change any of these if I want to. If I happen to know, like personally, that there's a typo, like maybe I know Sarah personally and I know she spells her name S-A-R-A-H. I mean, I'm sure she doesn't, but I could change that in here. I could change something about the title if I want to change different words in the title for whatever reason. So all of these individual articles are editable. Here's the abstract right here. The URL, if this is posted somewhere online, I can put the URL in here. And that's the other thing that I meant to mention. I alluded to it before, is that sometimes when I just go through doing my research and I find these articles, I like to send them to EndNote, because then once they're in EndNote, you're able to, like here under this one I got from EBSCO. I got a lot of these from EBSCO actually. They have a go to record right here where you can click on this and it will take you right to the EBSCO record. This is a live action role playing game, computer based learning element. That's interesting. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so I know that that's a lot to throw at you right now, but trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention. Import references, format, match. We have a is it under organized? Yes. One of the things under the organized tab up here is it gives you the option to find duplicates. So sometimes when you're doing research on one day, you might get a whole bunch of articles and you'll throw them into your EndNote account and you think that's great. And then you decide to take a break. And then a few days later, you start doing research again and you find more articles and you throw those into EndNote and you forget that some of those you've already found before. And they're there. So if you go to find duplicates here under organize, which is where you go to manage your groups. So here's this other article by Miley Brennan, Dungeons, Dragons and Damsels in Distress. Apparently I copied that twice. So it'll automatically check one of them off for you. So I can just delete that second one. And now there are no duplicates in my Dungeons and Dragons group, or in all of my EndNote. Okay. One last thing I want to show you is that under the format tab, format is where we go to, format our bibliography. That's what we did when we found, all the references in like our Dungeons and Dragons folder and put it into a bibliographic style. There's something else here called the Cite While You Write plugin. The Cite While You Write plugin is an applet that you can download on your computer. Once you download it, and it'll show up as a little, download in your folder. And then you can click on it and it will install the Cite While You Write plugin onto your computer. What happens then is it insinuates itself into your Microsoft Word. So when you go into Microsoft Word, I've opened up a Word document here and I've written a little bit of a article here on Dungeons and Dragons. And now you'll notice that up on the top here where you've got home, insert, design, layout, etc. There's another thing now here that will say EndNote. So what I can do is, as I'm typing this, I can go here and I can just kind of like leave off. Let's say I left off here. Now I want to cite where I, got this reference from. And I can click on EndNote up here. It might make me sign into my, and I'm already signed into my EndNote, so it might not make me sign in again. Oh, it doesn't. That's great. So I click on EndNote. Like I said, if you're not already signed into your EndNote, it'll bring up a little pop-up that will tell you to sign in again. I want this to be an APA style. See, these are all the styles that I have, And then I want to, okay, my cursor is still there after the word goblins right here. I want to insert a citation. So I'm going to put in Zelaznik, was that author that I found. And there he is, Dungeons and Dragons Storm's Education. Let's say I'm citing Matt Zelaznik. Now I just put the author's name in here. You don't necessarily have to put the author's name, just something from that article. If I could have put the word dungeons up there and it would have found all of the articles that had the word dungeon, so all of my D&D articles. So here's the article for Zelaznik. I just kind of highlight that article. I click insert and this is what it will do. After the word goblins, now it puts, I should probably put a space there too. It puts the word Zelaznik, the name Zelaznik, comma, 2018. And then here it is, Zelaznik M. Dungeons & Dragons Storms Education from the journal District Administration, volume 54, number 12. So now I could write some more stuff, and then let's say here at the end of this character, I want to cite one of the other articles. What was the other? Sarah Allison. I can click find. And now there's the development of the self of the era of internet and role-playing fantasy games. Now I can click her name, and now again, it's going to put Allison et al. 2006. But now here on the bottom, it's going to put her name, since she's an A and Zelaznik is a Z, it's going to put her name in front of that citation in front of Zelaznik. So by the time I finish writing this whole article, all I have to do is click down here, put a page break, insert page break, and then type references at the top. Wait, let me do that. And now I just type references or works cited, depending on what the citation style preference is, and I put that in the middle. And now I have, I said references, and here's the rest of my article, like assuming I would have kept on writing that. And so now my whole references page is just done. So so that's a really great a great little applet to have, and I hate it because they didn't have it when I was still going to grad school. So let me delete this. I'm not going to actually keep this document here. So yes, that's EndNote. I hope this was really helpful to you. Like I said, it can be really great in helping to create a works cited page, but again, it's really great just to organize all of your citations and all your references, to organize all of the articles that you get from all the databases, or just articles, and also videos, books, other things that you find when you're doing your research. It's a great idea to just keep them in your EndNote account so that you can always find them again when you need to. All right, I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm going to put my contact information up here. You can contact me by email. That's my office phone number. I'm not in my office too often. And oops, wait, sorry. I don't know where it went. There it is. You don't have to add me on Instagram. I won't be heartbroken. It's mostly pictures of my cats. So, but again, feel free to contact me if you have any questions, or contact any of the librarians from the Learning Commons homepage, right here through our support chat, or through library services. There's many other ways to contact us in person, through email, or make an appointment with us for research. Okay, thank you again for attending, and hope to see you in the Learning Commons soon. Right. Thank you. Bye.